Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We're glad you're here. So, on today's show, we have a really powerful story about a high performing tech leader, like many of you, who manifested the courage to decide to take a sabbatical, went on the sabbatical, has now returned back to his company. DJ Johnson is his name. And so we go through the journey of his decision to take it, what he learned coming out on the other side of it, in hopes that it may inspire some of you who are thinking about taking time off. Maybe, just maybe, the anger and anxiety and frustration and overwhelm and the stress that you feel can be alleviated by taking a pause or two just to check in, just to recalibrate and realign and reassess. He's writing a book about heart-centered leadership. I'm writing a book about heart-centered leadership. A mutual friend put us together, and he's like a long-lost brother. He's like, I feel I've only met him a few times, but I feel like I've known him forever kind of thing. And so we explore what heart-centered leadership is, and we talk through ways that everyone who's listening who wants to become more heart-centered, because I believe that is the work to do right now, particularly over the next 10 years as artificial intelligence solves a lot of the intellectual and cerebral elements of this world. We now need to be and live and lead from the heart. And so we explore how you can do that, how you can cultivate the time and the space and the energy to be more heart-centered. We then move into his experience as first generation, first generation to go to college, first generation to work in corporate. This discussion is beautiful and wide-ranged, but also fun and funny and relatable and real. And it's one of DJ's first time on the mic. And when I first met him, he had mentioned wanting to find a platform to share more of his story. And as he was speaking to me, it became so clear that he speaks from the wisdom and not from the wound. And everyone who's listening to this conversation will walk away with something that will help you in your journey to slow down and to become more aligned with who you are and what you're here to do. So take a listen, send me the takeaways. I want to know what you learned. Thank you for being here, and enjoy the show. Let's go, baby. All right, well, here, let's start with this. I want you to introduce yourself for the people and tell the people how we met.
My name is DJ Johnson. I am a heart-centric leader. I'm new to the space and I've been sitting on a lot of different thoughts. I have a 10 plus year career in corporate America, and I am first gen corporate and first gen college. And so I just like to say that I've picked up a couple of things along the way in my time here on this earth that I've really just sat with and questioned and toyed around with, and kept asking myself questions, like whether it be the five whys or some other framing, until it made sense to me, until I was satisfied with an answer or story that actually made sense to me. And so, if for those that know me, you know that that is not easy. And I had been asking the universe for more community around like this topic, and just think I'm like, there's something here, and this message to share with the world. And so it was interesting because he asked how we met. And so I'm dealing with a co-founder on another, this like social community initiative. Shout out to Aaron Hurst. And I talked to him. I was like, hey man, I'm toying around with this idea of heart-centric leadership. Not me thinking I created the phrase. And not recognizing there's a whole community of us out here, because I really didn't know at the time. I was just like, I felt actually kind of lonely in this spiritual space that I'm in, and
Sure.
didn't feel like there was a lot of other people. And so Aaron was like, yo, I got somebody I think you should talk to. And he connected Julio and I. And so it's been just like no looking back ever since. I feel like I'm
I
rocking with my
love
brother
that.
from another mother,
Seriously, I feel that too. And that's how these things work. Literally, I met Aaron Hurst at the Modern Elder Academy in Baja. It's like a midlife retreat. And I met Aaron in the pool. we hit it off. And then, before you know it, we're walking the beach in Baja, talking about heart centered leadership, talking about my book, talking about being first generation queer Latino in tech, having been fired 4 times, trying to figure out what to do with this. Like, how do I use this to serve the world, to help other people, to lower the ladder and help other people recognize the importance of doing your inner work? And then it's just like their seeds are planted. You just never know how it's all going to unfold. It's such a beautiful thing.
The universe shall provide. You do the things that you need to do. You don't even have to do a lot, just be clear and conscionable in what you're asking and open to receiving.
I love that. That's beautiful. And you know what? You're just such a genuine person who clearly has been through shit. I feel like all of us who have been through a lot of stuff in our lives, there's a resonance when you have had to go into the muck and do the work.
Mhm. Yes. And, it's interesting because it's like everybody goes through shit and has been through shit.
Everybody.
It's just to what degree are you willing to look inward? It's just to what degree are you willing and able to understand that
Mm,
you can do different, not
yeah.
better or worse, but different.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we can get more clarity at. A lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, Julio, you and I talk about this a lot. It is the root cause that I have come up with is lack of understanding, lack of empathy, lack of listening.
Mm.
And all of those things are important to have a society that
And we don't do
operates
that well because
of what is going on. I think because we're not facing inward. Everyone is in such a survival mode, especially with the I love technology, but I think it is being used as a way in some cases to distract ourselves from looking inward and taking the time and the space to figure out who the hell we are. We have these like micro dosing videos. We can't get things fast enough, the instant gratification. It's almost like we're looking at the tools and resources and access that we have in like this very one-dimensional way versus zooming out and saying, imagine how further we could go together if we all understood who we are. And that would allow us to hold space for how other people are, right? And like letting people be people.
yes, yes. And I think your comment around going inward really resonates because that is the work to do. And when we're on this hamster wheel, the impulse is to not get off of it, but to stay on it and stay in the midst of it. But you had the courage to get out of the hamster wheel for a moment and take time off in your sabbatical. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on here is because that's a real act of courage. Like, I feel that there are not enough leaders who have the self-awareness to know, wait a minute, I need to take a moment for myself to regroup, to collect myself, to recalibrate, to realign myself with who I am and what I'm here to do. And that is I think your story can inspire a lot of people to say, hey, maybe I could benefit from taking a beat.
Absolutely. And even like your example that you just gave, a lot of people don't do it. Why? What do you think that is?
I think there's a pressure, at least I could speak for myself and what I've observed and what was in my own life. There's a feeling of I have to keep going because if I stop, then I'm going to flounder. And then so that's an internal pressure, and then there's an external pressure of how will it be received, how will it be, how will people take it, and that's me worried about what other people are going to think about my decision to take time off. Both of those things where I feel like are very common insofar as they prevent people from actually taking the pause. What do you think?
I even take it even further, right? Like I think that's right. Like those are all reasons to why people may not want to do it. My reasons were a little bit different, but I think the root cause is the same.
Say more.
People that it's these extrinsic things that we allow to influence the decisions that we make, right? Even though we know that there are things that we need. My case, things were deprioritized because I was prioritizing everything else. I wanted to do XYZ, right? Like all of these things. In your case, was how does this look? What does it say about me to those that are around me? Does it make me feel like I'm not serious about the work that I'm doing or
Or
my
I'm not
roles on
strong
the
enough to
team?
handle it.
Or I'm not
I
strong enough to handle it. I have to
yeah.
survive and endure in order to be seen as and given more opportunity. What kind
Yeah,
of way of
yeah.
living is that?
Yeah.
What kind of way of like but I think
It's
we can both
true.
say, keep me honest here. Like I think if knowing ourselves, knowing who we are, knowing and trusting that that is enough, that I think that's for me what made the difference of being able to actually say, hey, ready, set, go on sabbatical and uh, recognizing the consequences of not doing that. What do you think your root cause was, if different?
See, I didn't take a sabbatical. I just kept getting fired because my reluctance to take a pause, even in a meeting, and take a breath. I remember one manager once telling me, turn the camera off and take a breath. No one has to know. Turn the camera off and take a breath. Collect yourself. Think of you. You're clearly getting angry. You're a passionate person. The queer Latin New Yorkers coming out in you because the creative team has not missed the deadline and we have to ship this thing and they're not prepared. So I'm about to. I'm ready to go into Figma and do the motherfucker myself. I'm gonna go create the design myself. And it was like okay, that's not. Take a beat. Take a beat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
So
so I
true.
was torn between I have to stay in the game because if I bow out, then people are going to look at me funny. Versus, wait a minute, but I feel like I'm running out of fuel here. I feel like I'm losing myself in the process. My ability to regulate and to stay calm and to not let my anger take over became shorter and shorter and shorter. The bigger the rooms became, the higher the stakes. And I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. And you are not. You got 20,000 other people that feel very similarly in one way or
Yeah,
another.
yeah,
And I think like whether the outcome was a sabbatical or firings or what you're doing now that led you to what you're doing now, I think it's all
yeah,
a part of that journey. And there were lessons that were long learned along the
yeah,
way. And
yeah.
so like for me, it was the sabbatical that allowed me to really take a beat and think about some of these things, right? Like as a black man in America, like my rope is a little bit shorter and I have to understand that that fuse um has potentially deadly consequences.
Mm.
And so I'm always having to focus a little bit more inward to make sure that I am not crossing into a territory that makes me one less productive Black man out of the fight for
Mm.
all of the things that we know we deserve and need in America.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm really curious. How did you know? Take me to the moment that you knew that it was the right time for you. Specifically, how did you know and make
I'm
that
about to
decision?
go the fuck off. I am angry. I am pissed. I'm mad. I'm frustrated.
Mm,
If I see this person walking down the street, it was something about me and that sidewalk. If I
mm,
see people walking down the street, you better move out of my way because I'm not going to shoulder check you. I'm going to take the motherfucker off.
mm.
Okay. Right. But it,
No,
and it
I'm
was
with you.
changing. It was changing who I was,
Mm,
who I am. I was sitting in more pessimism. I was sitting in more anger and um recognizance around how I'm seen amongst the world. Oh, confirmation bias was at its peak for me. They're treating me this way because I'm black, because I'm short, because I'm this, because I'm that, because in their eyes I'm not good enough. Well, what do you mean, DJ? What's going on? What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
what are you doing, dude? Are you
Mm,
feeling some type of way? Do we need to unpack this, right? And so that is the triggers that made me feel like I needed to take a sabbatical because I didn't have time to think and unpack. And yes, I was going to therapy while, doing my daily life, but really I didn't, I needed to, this saying my mother has developed these last couple of months was take your foot off the gas. What served me in my 20s, the hard driving, the establishing discipline, the go, 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 I literally had to, over the last couple of years, practice slowing down, enjoying the things that I have done and being able to reflect back um, and understand like I've come a long way. And so I felt like I was fearful of being lazy. I was like, oh my God, I'm lazy. And so now I'm like, but I also had no sense of direction. I had no sense of self. I didn't know who I was. I've been 2 years into my 30s, and I'm now saying, I'm reflecting back and I'm like, what does this mean? I've accomplished a lot of the goals that I've set. I've done the thing. I used to walk around with a briefcase when I was younger, right? Like I wanted to be a lawyer and like all different stuff.
Same.
And
I wanted to be a doctor because I was like, that
you
motherfucker makes
know,
good money and he drives Ferraris. He
period.
makes good money. I had this idea
Period.
of what that was, but it's so life is so much more than that. It's so much richer. There's so many other dimensions than that.
You know, yeah, exactly. But nobody
Yeah.
talks about that. And so as we think about, one of the big things for me was what are the questions that I have about life or the way I grew up or the things I heard growing up or my beliefs, my ideologies that I can let go. I can evolutionize. I can, and that was one of the things, right? Like, so I'm actually studying for, I'm planning to go back to law school.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Good for you.
I am I've been sitting with that. I was like, dude, this it doesn't have to be a pipe dream, it doesn't have to be the thing, right? Like you did you had your first career and you can continue down that path
Yes.
and also do this other thing. Um
Yes.
a- and that
Both can be
leads me
true.
both can be true. Like Julio, you just this whole I that was one of the other realizations of we have feel like we have to make trade-offs a lot of the time. And in some cases, yeah, that's true because
Hmm.
we only have a certain amount of resources, time, money, energy, whatever the hell it may be. But in often cases, more often than we give credit to, both can be true. It's an and. When I hear my team say this or that, and they're debating and hard arguing and for both of them. I'm like, I often find natural congruencies where both things can exist in once. As a matter of fact, they probably should, versus us sacrificing by making one decision over another. So, and I feel like you and I, we talk about this a lot when it comes to just like the way in which the world is operating and running on fumes and everybody, I think about if you look at the like average amount of sleep people are getting these days, it's like less and less and less and less because they're trying to maximize their day. This hustle culture, no shade, don't come for me in the comments. But like, when did it become cute to deprioritize simple things that you need to regeneratively restore your body, your skin, your hair, your nails, to give it so little time? Like, and to maximize things that really won't matter in the end, sweetie. You can't take this stuff with you when you're gone.
And the interesting thing about that is when you do look at the people who are high performing and are doing well and being able to sustain it, they do have these practices. It is a part of, they have gone through the calibration of figuring out what are the things that I need to keep me whole and nourished and energized, being able to sustain this. But we're not really taught that a lot, and that's kind of the mission I'm on, and that's why I love bringing people like you on here to surface some of these stories because even though you're in a high performing, high power role surrounded by people who are go getters, particularly Amazon has a culture of this, there is a way to be well in that space if
Yeah,
you
for
if you
sure.
have taken the time to cultivate the skills, to slow down, to find ways to regulate, to understand, hey, I got to take a beat. I have
Yeah.
to take a moment. And for me, you said something last time we talked about spotting the signs. You said, know yourself and be honest with yourself. So I'm curious, given your role and the exposure that you have to people, how can someone who's listening to this spot the signs? If they're not awake, if they're moving so fast and they don't realize the signs, what are those signs and how do you spot them?
I would always encourage, if you are recognizing life and time is going so quickly and you don't know what happened, you can't remember what you did last weekend or the day before or what the hell you even had for lunch. That is probably a sign for sure. For sure. Like, clock that tea. Okay. And then if it's happening more and more frequently, right? Like, and then also, like, if you're having health issues,
Mm.
if you like, these are obviously going to be more reactive, some of these, but if you're having health issues, if you're feeling unfulfilled in your friendships, your relationships, if you're frustrated with the people that you love and you care about, if you're not able to take feedback from people that mean well, if we're finding ourselves more defensive, if we're finding ourselves in spaces and in moods more than we are finding joy, that's a sign that you are moving too quickly and you need to take a beat. Because again, the old adage, how can you fill somebody else's cup when yours is empty? You cannot pour from an empty cup. And so and so like we got to be cognizant about that. So I have so many friends, and society sets us up this way, right? Like so it's not like these people are doing this for no reason, but there's so many little influences that will shape how we show up and how hard we charge, right? Like if we think about like Black women in corporate America, their reasonings may be very different from a Latinx man, right? Like, or someone who is a white man. All three of those reasons are going to be different. And so I think it's just understanding yourself enough to know, listening to yourself, not even understanding, because you may not be able to understand it, but listening enough to yourself to know when your energy is depleted.
Beautiful. That was such a clear answer. Yes. Now I'm curious, how did you perceive yourself coming back from sabbatical and how did others perceive you? What did others say? Were others curious that you took time off? Did have people been asking you about your reflections in a way that they're like, what's some of that he's got? How do I get some of that? I don't know. I'm curious.
A lot of people thought I was on vacation, like I traveled and I did all the things. And I was like,
he
I
was in
love
Hawaii,
that.
baby.
Right. Like, I'm like, and it was like and I literally was the furthest thing from it. I was just like, I literally like did not leave my house. I was
Mm,
like, I'm good. Like, there were times when I, like, it is such a force of habit to like want to get out and go do things. Like, let me go to the coast. Let me go drive to this. Let me go fly here. Let me go up the field this time. But I knew I had actually made a list of things that I wanted to do on sabbatical, like hobbies I wanted to try. We don't try hobbies as
what's
adults.
an
It
example
like
of
takes
something you tried?
archery.
Oh, beautiful.
What Black man you know is over here doing archery? Okay, like,
Ah!
right?
Yo,
Like I
yo.
started making my own candles. Okay, like
Damn.
I've been on this natural hair curl journey, and so people have been like, "I like your hair. I like your hair." So I've been in these subreddits, and so I've like shared a couple of pics of my journey, and they're like, "You should start
Clothes
a
on or off,
scene."
baby. Clothes on or off.
Well, this
Ah!
time around, I was like, let me not let this be a distraction. We focused on the crown, not the jewels.
That's good.
so
That's good.
so
Okay, tell me.
Black men in particular, we don't spend a lot of time understanding or knowing our hair. And there's a lot of frustration, especially in like the Black community, more textured hair types. We go out and buy all these expensive products that don't even fucking work because we don't know what the
Work.
fuck we're doing. But we need to understand, like, what is your hair trying to communicate with you? Just like we would understand what somebody else is trying to communicate. If you have dry hair, well, what does that mean, right? Like, what is your hair saying? It needs moisture, right? But how do you know what moisture, right? So, like, there's this like hair education component, and it ties back into this like heart centric leadership. Um, because I, like, for instance, I used to hate my hair. I was like, it doesn't do what I wanted to do. I want curls and da, 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 da. I had bad hair. There's also in the black community like bad hair versus good hair. That was like more of a Y2K thing. It allowed me to explore more of myself because as I started to treat my hair better, it allowed me to accept myself more and also realize and even apologize to myself. Looked in the mirror one day and I told myself, I am sorry.
Wow.
I am sorry to you for what I didn't like about you. And so I'm like, I never want other people to feel that way. So I'm on this journey, this quest to figure out what is the best way to tie this like physical hair thing, skin thing within like this spiritual thing, and
Mm.
how it has ripple effects across your life.
Yeah. Well, first of all, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that because it is connected to heart center leadership insofar as it's connected to alignment, like getting to really know you and the body that you're inhabiting here on
Mhm.
earth and
Yeah.
being in relationship to that and not demeaning it. I mean, you do it for hair. I used to do it with weight. The first thing I see in the mirror, I'm like, oh, look, you're a fat ass. Like, you shouldn't have eaten those donuts last night, but you fucking ate it. And this is what and it's like, my God, this is nasty. Like, I was so
Right.
mean to my body. Like,
Mhm.
no wonder it wanted to eat at 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? Because of the way I was
Oh.
treating it.
hmm and then if you take that, I just want to like go with me on this. If you were to take that, how did it also in turn, how did you treat other people at that time? Right? Like I believe that there's a way of when we hate our physical beings, we oftentimes will comment or make vicious remarks about other people's physical
Oh,
beings.
100%.
Um and or like petty shit that they
Yeah.
can't, right? Like we're just looking to so
At least I'm better than them here or something.
here, yeah, it's like this like stack ranking in life, and it's just like it's so lame. It's like, girl, let's no, it's like it's lame, and so it like yeah. And yes, I love how you compared like the whole weight thing versus the hair thing. Like I had like my physical thing was my lips. Like when I was younger, like kids used to tease me about my lips, but now I'm like,
Mm.
these things go for like 10K a pop now.
That's
So I'm like,
right.
I'm like, they appreciate and
Yo,
value. And
they
like everybody
appreciate.
wants, and now people appreciate. I really got into like natural skincare and like hair care and like understanding these different facets of who I am, and what I liked, what I didn't like. And so like all of these different things that I had originally said, well, no, that doesn't fit this idea that I had of who I was, of me in my 20s. But then I was like, wait a minute, dude, you live past your 20s. So what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I hadn't planned that far. I didn't think I had the privilege to plan that far. And I still struggle with that today. But I think that um, a lot of it is just like figuring it out as we go along, right?
Yeah, and I particularly love that you called out not just having a super busy calendar because a lot of times when people do take off, they pack it with stuff because they can't be with self or they can't be bored or they can't take the time to make a candle or explore things that are not deemed as quote unquote having a good time with my time off. I have to be I have to be doing quadding in
High
Saudi
energy.
Arabia. I have to be doing fucking
Um,
kayaking in Maui. It's like, no, you don't actually have to be doing all these things all the time.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
And that's an
Yeah.
important consideration because I do see people who go away, particularly founders, other tech leaders, they go away and then they come back and they joke. You've probably seen this amongst your friends. You go away to Fire Island for a week and you come back thinking, I need a vacation from that.
From the
It's like,
vacation.
yeah, you need a vacation from the vacation. Well, bitch, you weren't doing your vacation correctly. Hello?
And even when you're not, if you don't go on sabbatical for months at a time, like even just prepping vacation the correct way, winding things down for that 1 week you're going away, having an intention, setting an intention
Yeah.
before you actually go on vacation was the most helpful thing for me. So, and that also causes you to be present. It causes you to be aware. It causes you to understand what the hell you need, why you're taking this vacation. It makes it a practical solution to a problem. So, not everybody's going to be able to take 3 to 6 months off and be able to do the things. And so, and oftentimes, again, it goes back to the, well, I can't do that, so I'm shit out of luck. No, no, no. Right? Like there's
You do
still
what
other
works for
ways to
you
make this happen. You do what works for you and what you can
and what you can.
until you can do something different.
Mm. Ooh. Yeah, I think Oprah says, do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do.
Want to do. Mm-hmm.
And about the heart-centered leadership thing, one thing that I took away from our first conversation, it was actually quite inspiring. It was a sense of hope, because it's very easy when you're flicking through social media to think that big tech is a cesspool, that there's all these bros and it's all negative and da, 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 da. But actually, there are a lot of heart-centered leaders in tech across different companies trying to do the right thing, well-intentioned, in the game, working hard, trying to do this well, knowing that the future is less about the head and more about the heart. And I think we have to hero them. I think we have to bring them together in community. And this is one small way of being able to do that.
I have a fabulous example of that. A story that I'm so proud of
Tell me,
that
tell me.
uh, I'm sure they won't mind that I share. But essentially, I in my former role, previous role, I was running a talent development team, and so we were targeting increasing the access to computer science, and we did that through first gen college, oftentimes increasing access through marginalized communities. And so we send them to college. They go to college, we give them a scholarship, and then they would come to the company for up to 3 internships before being offered full time. And so oftentimes the people that were awarded these scholarships look like me. They had very similar backgrounds and upbringings that I did, right? And so, so that would be first gen college, first gen corporate. And I'm talking about these kids. These adults are smarter than me. Like they were younger than me because they're like 18, 17, going to like Yale and
Yeah.
Princeton and like, Atlanta Tech, right? Like
Yeah.
all these different schools. And so, but then they were interning at this like Fortune 5 company at 18. And so one of them, one summer, it was like my first summer, there was this young lady who came to me in tears. She was crying because she felt like she didn't belong in the room. She, was from this, she actually went to a state school. Shout out to the state schools, okay?
Shout out to
Because
state schools.
three
That's
and
right.
three, right?
That's right, baby.
Like, um,
Ain't nothing
and
wrong with a state
so
school.
ain't nothing wrong with no state schools. Shoot, period. Um, and so, like, she, just this real sense of imposter syndrome, and like, just also nobody that looked like her. She's a Black woman. Everybody else in the room is male and white of sorts. And so she was just like, really taken aback by that, not really being in an environment that way before. And so I remember at the end of her internship, she came back 3 times. She is, she had some learnings, right? Like she kind of started from a different bar, but had to grow and learn like technical knowledge and depth. And she not only did she come back for all 3 of her internships, but she also came back full time, and she's starting full time in a few months. So it was an incredible story to see because her manager, I worked closely with this particular manager, and he was like, he would come to me and be like, what should I do? This is what I want to do, this is what everybody else is saying to do. And I'm like, go with what your mind says. I was also in agreement with him, right? Like, and we talked about some of those things that we could do to give some additional support. But he invested and poured so much into her in a way that others would have just likely would have given up. And you can change the trajectory of somebody's life by doing one way or the other. You can either help them along the way, reach their goals, even if it's not in your organization, even if it's in a different path in life, right? Like not every redirection is bad. Most of the
Yeah.
time, actually, in my experience, they've always been great.
Yeah.
But the or you can be that person that changes their life in a way that they will have trauma, they will never forget, they will look back, right? Like people learn, they grow, they recover, but it's
Yes.
just which path do you want to go down? Which
Yeah. And
side of history do you want to be on?
yes. And I almost see that example as a good distinction between manager and leader, because I feel like managers follow script. They're micromanaging, they're checking boxes, they're trying to fit in a formula. Whereas I define a leader as somebody who sees potential in people, and not only sees the potential, but then has the courage to develop that potential, to go above and beyond, to invest the time and energy and resources to develop that potential, knowing that that investment will produce cascading impacts. But that is the work of a leader, not a I don't think all managers do that. I think the leader has to think about this. You're thinking about the vision, where you want to go and how you develop and grow talent. But that is hard when you're under time crunches. But it's still there. They exist. Those people exist. And I think those people have the most powerful set of skill sets. Like the future of leadership is heart led. Like, I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's really the truth.
Yeah, it is. And like, that made me think of like, what are some actionable steps that organizations can take to be ahead of that? We're all over the curve of like AI. We're trying to beat everybody to the finish line there. And that's just like a big uphill thing that we have barely scratched the surface of. But what is it that we need to do because of the advancements in AI and emotional intelligence becoming more of a focal point?
Yeah.
Right, because the knowledge
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
leveling out the playing
No, you're
ground.
right. I think in this case, like our professional development courses go beyond how do you write good emails or how do you make good slides.
Throw that shit out the window,
Yeah, it
like
has to
because
go
you won't be
way
making those
deeper.
things
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, yeah, you won't be doing that.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
how are you able to experience the full range of emotions without losing yourself? How are you able to engage in a difficult conversation but have where you speak truth but from a place of love and compassion, and not I'm trying to throw this person under the bus.
Yeah, this like competition thing, because like you're gonna be again. This is the time when everybody's gonna be just as smart as you. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, there's not any, access. One of the things that separated the haves and the have nots was access. And so now that everybody
exactly.
has access
Exactly.
for free, and if you pay $20 a month you can have unlimited access, then now what makes you different from the guy you're sitting next
Yes.
to in that meeting? Are you going to be the
Nothing.
asshole that's to try to make this a WWE SmackDown match in corporate America, or are you going to be the dude that figures out
Yeah,
how you can also achieve your goals by bringing other people along? And people will be like, well,
that's
that
right.
sounds cheesy, that sounds this. You are who I'm talking to, dude. You, ma'am, madam, sir, you are who I'm talking to. Reevaluate yourself. Like check in, because if you feel like you need that in order to determine who's dedicated or who's fit, that is a problem. And that's going to lead to a culture problem within your organization, which is then going to need for you to spin up a lot of earned trust. You're going to have to figure out, how do you buy back the trust of your employees, because we were trying to meet some arbitrary deadline that we probably didn't need to raise anyway, but we did. Right. Like, and it's fine to be ambitious as an organization. I think organizations get a bad rap for that sometimes. However, we also need to figure out, how do we be ambitious with also being aware and self-aware and actionable within these people that we're going to have to work with. Because let me tell you, being an asshole at work and having to go back the next day and the day after and the day after, it's uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I think the other thing I'm very passionate about lately is energy dynamics. Everything is energy. We learned this in coaching school, but of course, before people have wrapped language around it in the form of a curriculum. We've always known that it's all energy, but it's about creating the energy in the room and the team. And if there's fear and shame and worry and anger, there's lack of trust. Like it's a race to the bottom. It sort of deteriorates and everybody's minimum viable. You're not getting the most out of people. People are not, who the fuck wants to work in that? I had never really thought about the phrase heart centered leadership until a client, Edgar Brown is his name. Shout out to Edgar Brown. And he was like, you know what I think you are? I think your stuff is all about heart centered leadership. Like that's what you do. And it was the first time I had heard someone mention that phrase. And I was like, I don't know, that sounds a little woo woo. Like, what the hell does that mean? But the more that I've done this work, the more I've realized, like, wow, that there is something here. So I'm curious how that came to you and what does that mean for you?
it means you can still deliver results while being empathetic in its simplest form. You do not have to sacrifice one thing over the other. And that looks like understanding, that looks like listening, it looks like holding space, checking in, right? Like, it looks like being self-aware. Like all of these different things factor into and also accountability. That is my new favorite thing right now, is accountability for myself and for others. So all of those things mean heart-centric leadership, but it doesn't trade off your ability to be successful, your ability to still reach your goals, the ability to have different discipline. Like all of that is true at the same time. What about for you?
I think tactically, heart centered leadership is a lot of what you said: the listening, the holding space, the empathy. I would add that for me, it is really in relationship to the head and the heart. Like, my head has driven so much, the thoughts, the constant, incessant flow of thoughts in my head. I in my 20s, I was so identified with those thoughts. I thought they were me. And so when I would go into a meeting or respond to a Slack or see an email, all of the stuff that would come out, the five different permutations of who do I want to CC? How do I want to reply to this? Do I want to do bullets? Do I want to not say anything? Do I want to go to their desk? Do I want to cut? I was so enveloped in all of that. For me, heart centered leadership has now become the practice of recognizing those are there, but they're not me. That they're inputs, but there's something else going on, and it actually resides here. That the truth, my ability to really listen, my ability to become empathetic and tap into my emotions, my ability to be driven by a purpose and a passion greater than me, my ability to tap into the humanity of us as one human being with kindness, all comes and originates here. And what I feel is this can get in the way. Because it's just trying to be okay. It's trying to make everything okay in there.
Hmm.
And so
Rationalize.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So the journey for me, there's this old, you know, quote around the longest 18 inches the longest distance ever traveled is the 18 inches between the head and the heart. This
Mm.
relationship between the two. And for me, it's like heart centered leadership is really learning how to move and be alive from the heart, to move from the heart space first, not necessarily the head space.
Operating from within alignment, you know, like
Yeah.
we think about what does it mean to be on center. And that's the other thing. If you're understanding who you are, operating from your core principles and what it is that you need, whether it be spiritually, mentally, anything in between, you're less likely to be able to be triggered by these external influences. And whether it be that email that you get or the thing that you perceive the person is intrinsically or subtly doing to you, the
Yeah.
subtext that they're tweeting in that meeting,
Yeah.
right? Um, that is something that I've also found to be really powerful because I'm not that confirmation bias, man. It is something that will
Yeah.
get it every time. And then you start to believe that,
Oh my
you're starting
gosh.
to, and then you start being, in my case, angry. I was like, well,
Angry. Me too.
let me find all of the things that you're doing so I can affirm that this is how you feel about me versus allowing you to be you and allowing myself to be myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Operating from within alignment is heart-centered leadership, is another way of saying it, is operating
Yep.
from that sense of alignment. And what we see right now are a lot of leaders who don't know, they can't operate from within alignment because they're on a script, or they don't know what their values are, or they're
Hmm.
myopically trying to follow either the money or the prestige or the title or whatever that is. And I believe over
Hmm.
the next 10 years, millions of people will be called to figure out how do they move into alignment with themselves, because you used to be able to mask it with a PhD or this and this. All that's going to go away. Now the playing field changes now. So now who are you really, and what matters and what's important to you? And we're starting to see that come out in the woodwork.
It's going to become more prevalent, you know, as we remove the focus off of doing, it's going to be how we're showing up, who we
Yeah.
are. And, so I do think that is some of the good of the AI that's happening is maybe it'll free up space for people to be able to think about their world and the position that they're showing up and playing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's Eckhart Tolle last week was saying AI is going to push us to go beyond the thinking mind. It actually, because that's going to be solved, right? Like you don't need to, oh, I need a degree, I need more school. It's like that's already solved. Go beyond that. Who are you beyond the thinking mind? Like you know, and that's really the call to courage for all of us, is to figure that out. And then once you have figured that out, how do you use the resources at your disposal to move in the direction of that, whatever that purpose is, whatever that alignment looks like, to propel you into that? And that's really the magic, I think.
Hmm. And it'll
Uh,
evolve too.
and it'll evolve.
Hmm.
You said my vision is to break, and maybe it's one of your visions, not the vision, but you said
Hmm.
my vision is to break generational curses and cycles. How did that come to be? Tell me.
Honestly, it was through my time off sabbatical. I was like, wait, all of these things aren't true. Like, what do you mean? Like my stance is evolving on this and it's different. And so like as thinking about heart-centric leadership and there's space for it. Um, like, oh, and I can still be successful. And, here's some other questions that I have, like aging and, all of these things. Um, I I feel like we can one of the things I appreciate about my mom is that she would always say, she always says like, I'm helping you look around corners by telling you these things before you need them. And so it saved me a lot of headaches, especially being open to receiving the messages that she was saying. Maybe not all of them were applicable at the time, but there are definitely times where I've reflected back and I'm like, oh, this is what that meant. Oh, this is what that. So sharing the message of this journey of, not succumbing to the environments that we're in, because then you also feel like a chameleon too, right? Like at least I did when I was doing that. I was like, oh, I'm in this space. Let me reflect this, and I naturally will pick up people's energy, and so I would leave conversations feeling exhausted or depleted, or feeling like I was actually in a neutral space before engaging with that person, and now I'm coming down off of this high, and then it like crashes, and then I'm tired, and then I need a nap, and all of that. And so now I'm like learning how to sit in my neutrality, even when somebody has a lot of energy, as an example. And, what if I had known that and modeled that in my early 20s? What does that look like? So basically, so that's the other thing, and I had mentioned this idea of this heart-centered relationship with Aaron, and he connected us. I'm also working on this book that is talking about these things, whether it be from a physical perspective, like how you're showing up, taking care of your skin, putting on sunscreen, y'all. Sunscreen, even for my melanated folks, like it is a myth that we do not get sun cancer. So use your sunscreen, or that we don't need sunscreen. Like it is a myth. So use
Mm.
your sunscreen. But um, and also like just like, so that's like the physical part of the book is like these things, but then also like the spiritual component, whether you identify, whether it be religion or spirituality or whatever that is. I think for me it's definitely spirituality around, how am I taking care of my space? What are some things I can do to cleanse my space and create the environment and the vibe abode that I want? And then it also talks about just some of these like mindset principles, like we've talked about in this podcast, around allowing you to get through your day with less resistance.
Mm. And isn't that everybody's goal right now? Or if it's not explicitly stated, it is implicit. That's what we all want. We all want to be able to get through the day in a way that's fulfilling, that where we feel accomplished, but there's also purpose and peace and some love. You know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, especially in a world where it's so that it's not a lot of, or at least it doesn't feel like it, right? And
Mm,
so I think detoxing from social media is never a bad idea, no matter
mm.
how uh, curated our feed is. I think, just really having that space to step back from some of the distraction, journaling. Um, you actually, I think it was, we talked about the book, The Artist's Way. So I was
Yeah, the
like,
artist's way.
yeah, so leaning into that and thinking about, writing those pages, even if it's, I have nothing to write, I have nothing to
That's
write, I
right.
have nothing to write,
That's right.
right?
That's what
Like
I do
you'll
here.
eventually have something to write.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
literally am just like some days I'm like I don't know. I'm just but
Yeah.
I just write for me the exercise of writing is like speaking to my inner self, speaking to the divine. I'm a channel, I'm a vessel, and the practice of writing opens me up to the. Or I think about when you turn on the water in the shower, and sometimes you need the hot. You got to get through the cold water in order to get to the hot water, and it takes a little bit of time. Like for me, that's been my process already. You have to just turn it on, let the water run through, and then eventually the hot stuff comes. But you got to get through the cold first and move the energy and the language through you. And that's the journey I've been on. It's been tremendous writing. And it's funny because I used to write all day, every day for fucking corporate, PRDs, briefs, copywriting, blog posts. How many blog posts? I've written 400 blog posts for Google Help Center articles. I used to write for everybody else, but oh no, I don't have time for me. No, no, no. Why would I do that?
Mm,
Why would I do that? I don't have time for that. Like, I'm
mm,
good. I'm good.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Are ya? Are ya? Universe said, we're going to show you better than we can tell you,
We are going to show you. And I've been thinking about a lot about you and I having, the first gen situation is very similar. You going into a corporate space, being raised by a single mother. I believe that there's a certain set of skill sets that we bring to bear given that. And I love that you said, you were referring to your mother. She gave me space to fail. And she also was very clear about be real with me, don't lie. And I love
Yeah.
that because that was the same with my mom. She was like, listen, I don't care if you got a drug problem, whatever, but just tell me. Don't be fucking lying to me. Don't let me find out. Don't let me come hunt your ass down. Just be real with me. You can tell it to me straight.
Mhm. Yeah, and it was interesting because mine started with like not wanting to go to school. She's like, "You don't have to lie to be say you're sick, so you don't have to go. Just say you don't want to go. I get vacation time, so should you, right?" Like, and I was like, "Hell yeah," like hell yeah. So yeah, I think that was also like set the epitome of our relationship, right? Like, she had always strived to break the generational cycle. She didn't do she as she evolved in her parenting journey, she recognized that, and I would even say pretty early on, but what worked for her and her mother, she didn't necessarily do for me. She wanted to really take a stance of a relationship, which is, like, let's figure out what this is. Like there were things that were done to her, and she's like, I don't really jive with that. I won't do that. There were some things that we did, right? And so some things that she didn't know. So I appreciated that because that allowed me to figure out like how to, as an adult, like that anything is possible. Literally, she used to be like 4 and 5 and 6, so she's talking about perspective. I'm like, what are you talking about, mom? Google Gaga. Like, I want to go watch TV. Oh, there is a word. Like, literally, that is a word from childhood. Is not like the perspective of the mind and like the that you choose to. Obviously, I relate to it more now, but like.
Yeah, and I think persevere is another quality that I got from my mom. See, watching her have a job, deal with the divorce, take care of me, have food on the table, the house is clean, that all this stuff going on, even though it was so much to burden, like to connect to your example about tech earlier and people not feeling necessarily belonging. Like, yeah, there were times where I was the Julio Alvarez. I was the only Latin guy in the room, sometimes on the marketing team. And there was part of me that was like, you don't fit in here. You have to assimilate. You have to become more white or mold yourself, like lean into that identity a little bit more. Don't go and get as much of a tan so that you can present this well. Wear Brooks Brothers. It'll help you look more fit in. And there were parts of me that wanted to peace out, but then that perseverance was like, no, bitch, you're not peacing out. You're staying in here. You're going to hold the line and hold your values. You're going to speak your mind and you're going to do the best that you can, even if you go down with the plane crashing. And that perseverance is something that has stuck with me. Even this thing, making my mess the message, deciding I could have went into a hole and not said anything, or otherwise I could have went in and positioned a whole narrative about how successful I was working at all these companies. Everyone just wanted me. I was in such hot demand. Or I can actually tell the honest truth about what happened and use it as a mechanism by which people can awaken, heal, begin their own journey. And because no one likes to talk about failure, everyone wants to talk about all the success that they have, but no one likes to talk about the real failures. So that's interesting. That I feel like I took that from my mom and from my first generation sort of upbringing.
Failure is feedback. Feedback is knowledge, and knowledge is power.
Mm.
So, like, why are we so afraid of failure? I mean, we know why. Like, there's all these different reasons, but again, perspective. And so, like, it's, we're going to fail. We know that's inevitable. We know that we're not going to get it right 100% of the time. So, like, why look at it as a deficient? And that's something else that, learning with time away makes easier to identify. Um, so, and I like how you talked about, your mom like worked so hard to do all of these things and, make do the best she can with what she had. And I think about how that's also passed intrinsically down to us, right? And so, and how that manifests and shows up, because in the workplace, you're doing whatever the hell you need to do to stay having a seat at that table. I'm hard charging. I'm, like ignoring what the things that I need in order to fulfill the obligations and the many hats that I wear. And um it's very interesting how that shows up. And then if you also look at the impact that it may have on relationships, and I'm talking about like personal relationships,
What's an
it's
example
just
of
all
that?
connected. Um, I would say an example of like just being able to like take feedback and like hearing what people are saying, right? Like, one thing that I love and that I learned on sabbatical is like impact does not, or intent does not erase impact. And so
Mm.
it is,
Intent does not erase impact.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, say more.
and
It's beautiful.
and it was interesting because like I would have these different situations that come up with like either my partner or friends or just random strangers, right? And so things at work, like this applies anywhere, and I would be like, well, I found myself so focused on my intent, but I wasn't acknowledging the impact my actions had on this person, which created a level of division, lack of understanding, lack of trust, lack of feeling heard, and lack of fulfillment in my relationships. Feeling like misunderstood because I wasn't understanding. Oftentimes, we will see in others what we do or don't like within ourselves.
Yeah, where a mirror, I think, is the term that you
Yeah.
use. That we're really we're a mirror for that. I think about it as well intentioned but poorly implemented. You can be well. I used to say I was well intentioned. People would say I was well intentioned, but how? Not just the what, but how are you doing it? Are you doing it in a way that serves you and the person that is at the table with you, and you're both on the same team, wearing the same jersey, trying to move this forward? Or are you trying to undercut somebody? Are you trying to go to all extremes to satisfy your intention at the impact of not implementing it correctly? I'm curious because you mentioned having instability in your upbringing, how that showed up for you in your professional and adult life.
I'm not sure I got that far on my therapy journey yet. No, I'm just playing.
Ah,
I would say like, and when we define instability, like I was one of those people that moved around a lot, right? Like there was a period of time where we lived in like transitional housing for a little bit, and so it made me fearful that the stability that I had could be taken at any time.
mm,
Right. And so I felt that also drove me to hard charge and feel like I got to have plan A through Z in order to feel safe and comfortable. But then I was trying to get to plan Z and I was out of energy. Like it's like I was spinning my wheels, and I'm like, I literally cannot go anywhere, which again is an indication of like I'm not slowing down enough to really even reevaluate that thinking. And does that serve me? Is it realistic? Is it even possible to have 26 different plans in case you lose your stability? I haven't figured it out. If somebody has, like, let a brother
No, but
know.
yeah, no, but I think they're right in that you like the way I used to think about it is like I'm James Bond or Jason Bourne. Like I always have to be looking every room I go into. I need to find all the exits. I have to
Mm,
sit in an aisle seat because if on a plane, I always sit in the aisle seat because as front of the close to the front of the plane because if some motherfucker's going to get up here and try and get in that cockpit, he's coming through me first. Like I
hmm.
have all these like contingency plans that were so subtle and unconscious and baked into my
Yeah.
being.
Hmm. I like how you really gave that example. Like that is a very specific example that is so true. And imagine multiplying that through across all of your life. Like that
Yes.
is where anxiety is born from, y'all. Like, and I also think like a medication is like super. I actually got on medication for a little bit because I was
Mm,
feeling like I wasn't like my naturalness was no longer sustainable. You talked about that word
mm,
earlier. You talk about
mm.
sustainability of the things that we're doing. And we need to destigmatize mental health medication because everybody could, if you could use a little tune up, do what works for you. If that's your path, you don't have to stay on it forever. But, if it's going to help you fight less hard, then why not? You know?
Now that's interesting because my godmother, may she rest in peace, she passed of cancer, but she was a Black lesbian woman. And she would talk about how in Black culture, therapy, medication, these things are not the norm. These things are not socially acceptable. So I'm
Yeah.
curious how that was received amongst your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it depends on the generation. Like my mom's older siblings are not like into the whole like therapy thing, right? Like they are very much a this is who I am. Can't teach an old dog new
Mm,
tricks. I'm clinging on, right? And that's like true of many people, right?
yeah.
And so the other side of it is my mom and maybe one generation before her is like let's like my mom is pro therapy always been like in the 2000s before it was even like really well talked about like that or as it was becoming you know more popular mainstream. She was like had me in therapy. We were consistent with it but but we were there and so I think on the other side of that like the click up before her is even exploring like a little resistant but like let me talk to this person and let me see I don't think it may work but let me see. So anyway, so I would say like so therapy is a tool. It's not a crutch. It's a tool to help you be able to identify and work smarter, help you really slow down and reflect. Like it's and that's how I look at therapy. I think that we have to be well intentioned. We have to understand like and well principled like what are we going to therapy for? Um, and even like something I've done in the past is like I've set like time limits. I'm like, hey, like my therapist at we do check-ins. These are the challenges or the things that I really want to unpack, explore, or dive into. And I'm like, let's reevaluate in 6 months and see what this is looking like. Are we making progress against our goals? My therapist is really good about that. But then I also recognize there's people out there that don't even know where to start with their therapy journey or like even how to identify. Um, and so there's space hell for that too.
And I would say for those people, that is okay. Like, if you're listening to this, this is your invitation. This is your affirmation that it is okay to start
Mhm.
exploring and thinking about because therapy changed my life too. I mean, I'm still going to therapy and every time I take my life to the next level, there's something new that I have to excavate and either unlearn or wrap words around or be able to figure out how
Yeah.
do I be in relationship with my nervous system, with all the conditioned parts of me that I need to slowly decondition or recondition, as it were. So I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that.
And I feel like it's something we need to do to satisfy or the desire to understand how the hell are we flying on this molting rock through this atmosphere
Yeah.
at warp speed and we could die at any time. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like, that is a lot to sit with, you know? So like, let
No,
me go
it
join
is.
a club, find an activity, like go to therapy, like figure out how I can be
Hell
better.
yeah. Hell yeah. And that sounds ridiculous, but when you zoom out, the reality of that is very true. This fucking thing has been around
Hmm.
for billions of years and we get to be here
Hmm.
for maybe 90 and
Hmm.
we come and go. We come
Hmm.
and go. We're in this body for a certain amount of time.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And then like I also think that there's, like fears of like what happens in the afterlife. Like where do we
Mm,
go from here? That's a whole nother
mm,
can of worms. But I think some people live their life by that. They're like, hey, I know I'm only going to be here for a certain amount of time, so I'm going to take full advantage of the life and time that I have here, which I'm like, hell yeah.
mm. Do you feel like you're doing that?
Absolutely. And it looks different for everybody. There are people out there that are like rock climbing and mountain
Yeah.
biking and, doing all these things.
Except none of that free
Um,
solo shit. That shit you
None of
you're
that.
climbing a rock with no string. No, we're not doing
Nah,
that.
that's just stupidity, y'all. We're not doing that. Like, and not to call you stupid, but that's stupid. But
Uh,
for me, it looks like, understanding my purpose, like
mm,
figuring out what that is and, how can I best lean into it? How can I maximize like traveling, going different places, exploring, like figuring things out, asking myself questions, like what are some of those um things that I want to be able to do and
yeah,
leave
yeah.
behind.
Did any of the time off sharpen your focus, your understanding of your purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I have a message that I want to get out there and figuring out the best place to do that. The messages mindset is a powerful tool and I don't mean that in the like gimmicky way, but it's like let's like understand how you are in control of a lot more than what you think you are. The stuff you consume will shape your perspective.
Mm,
It will feed the options that you feel like you have.
yes.
The people you surround yourself will help shape your behaviors, right? Like the people you do not forgive are still dictating your life.
Hell yeah. They are still up in your
Forgiveness,
life.
forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness is the best fucking powerful tool we can give
Oh,
ourselves. Not for them, but
ourselves.
for ourselves.
Ourselves. And you learn that lesson when?
I knew about it when I was like younger, like I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
like before teenager, but I feel like I'm practicing it in my
Mm,
30s, right? Like
mm.
I feel like I'm more aware of it in my 30s and it's a little bit
Yeah.
more
Same.
in my repertoire.
Same. In fact, I had that my ego was so enthralled about so many people I didn't want to forgive. Fuck those people. They're wrong. I hate them. Da, 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 da. And I realized that was a poison living inside me. That was running through my veins. Like I needed to excavate that shit. I needed to flesh that shit out and clear that. It was about releasing it for me to make me feel lighter. That was a big thing for when I was forgiving my father, learning how to forgive, and my mother, because both of our parents, however loving they may or may not have been, transmit to you conditioning and patterns of behavior. And so even with myself, I probably think that's been the hardest thing, is learning to forgive myself for when I'm not meeting my criteria, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectionism is a bitch. Like
Mm,
it's so crazy.
yes.
We know it's not attainable, but yet we try.
So we have a fire round of questions. I don't have them in front of me, but I think I remember them. And the first question is, courage. Right now, courage to me feels like.
Standing in my truth, honoring my body. honoring what I need, advocating for what I need, sharing, being vulnerable.
Beautiful. One thing I'm hopeful for right now is
Society.
mm,
Really helpful for society. I think with people like us, the message that we have, the way that we live, I think that can have ripple effects. And so, even when times look dark, dim, um, and scary, very scary, I do think that um, that there's hopefulness.
mm. For a leader who's listening to this and wants to be more heart-centered, they can start tomorrow by how?
Taking accountability, being accountable, asking yourself, like, what am I doing and why? Is it serving me? If not, why am I doing it? What's the static? Like, what's the thing that I must do to reach XYZ goals? And what's the noise? What can I get rid of? What is a distraction?
Yeah, and no matter what challenge you're in, what is the part I can take responsibility for as opposed to putting the
Hmm.
blame on everybody else?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well,
So,
this has been such a treat. Thank you for taking the
yeah.
time out of your day to be here and share this stuff. And I'm delighted. I'm delighted. This brings me so much joy.
And thank you for even having this platform, Julio. Like, and like, I think that you talk about courage, you talk about like alignment and understanding, like to be this far in your journey for someone like me that is just starting out on this message amplification journey is it's aspirational. It's very inspiring. And so I thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's such a treat. It's really a treat. And to your point in the beginning, it's being in alignment. I
Mhm.
resisted this for so long. I thought I need to be in corporate. I need to be crushing it. I need to be doing all these things that I thought I need to be on the Forbes list. It's like, no, fuck all that. Something has called me to get this fucking microphone, to start finding people's stories and to elevate them and surface them and engage with them in such a way that people can see themselves and the humanity, because we're more alike than we are apart. And if we're going to
Mhm.
make this this big turn, all of us are here in this moment. This is probably the most exciting time to be alive in many ways because of all of the
Mhm.
shifts that are happening. Now is the time for all of us to roll up our sleeves and do the work. And this is it. And you're on the journey with me. So let's go.
Hell yeah. Let's go,
Woo!
Julio.
All right, y'all, that's it for today's episode. Now, listen, if you were moved by something today, then good. It means it's working. That's progress. Shoot me a note and tell me. I want to hear about it. You can DM me online. hello@letsgowithjulio.com is my email. You can visit me at letsgowithjulio.com. I see you, and I know you're trying, and we're going to make change, all of us, one brave leader at a time. The Let's Go with Julio show is produced and edited by Ricky Gunton, and our theme song is You Are the One by Nick Deutsch. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend or two who could benefit. You know who they are, baby. I see you. I love you. Let's go, baby.